So while having a good time here in Exeter at the Hoxton Chapel, a few miles from my house, I got a very pleasant visit of some people I know very well, and I believe you know as well, and they are playing a game, so I will join them in a minute now. But I want to make just one video now for you when I'm sitting here talking so nice in this evening July sunset about a question that someone asked recently, and I want to address. If I like to play the partitas, or particularly the Well-Tempered Klavier, the most on my clavichord, and that's a really interesting question. That is something I'm going to address in this video. So before that, I'd like to welcome you if you are new here to Authentic Sound channel that is actually all about sharing the beauty of music from Bach to Beethoven, and that's not randomly chosen. I believe, and I think there is a strong connection between those two, that by looking at that leads us to many discoveries, new perspectives, surprising perspectives, even new layers of emotions, as I'd like to call them. And I feel privileged that I can share that with you and hopefully inspire you as a musician or as a listener. So, talking about the Well-Tempered Klavier, that's a project I'm doing now in July 2017, in case you would watch this video much later. I have done the partitas extensively, not only on YouTube a few years ago, but I've re-recorded all the partitas on YouTube a few months ago in January live. And actually, as we speak, I'm about to finish the edits of that, so we're going to launch a beautiful vinyl box. I have some nice news to tell you, but that's not for this video. And in fact, we're going to make all recordings in the future like that. YouTube is my laboratory, and it's great to experiment. I've been talking about some phases on research. First, phase 1, the facts. Phase 2, that's a think tank, as we say in Dutch. I know it's good English, where you reflect on that. You pour in your experience from a player, and as more experience you have, the better it is to get these facts to a certain life, but at a neutral zone. You're not trying to find a kind of common ground between you as a performer and the facts. You're trying new things out, and that's the discovery I'm talking about. It's so fascinating. And the next phase is, of course, you're going to perform that music and forget actually about everything, and then afterwards you go through that cycle again. So that's the great thing of playing music. It is free of cost, all these experiments. I really find it fascinating, and the word discover on my channel is really meant because it's out of curiosity, but it's fascinating to discover really so much new elements. Sometimes frustrating as well, because sometimes it takes a long time. But that's that's another topic. But anyway, so the partitas of the Well-Tempered Klavier, which one would I choose on my clavichord? And we think about that for a moment. If you are a keyboard player, I know that most commonly today, and that's also the reactions that I read and get, is that the partitas are perhaps a little bit too big as pieces for a clavichord, and that the Well-Tempered Klavier might well fit for the clavichord the best. The way I address this and summarize that, probably let's get you come up with the way I'm thinking. And really, as a performer, as a clavichord player, as I'm playing the clavichord the most, if I would have to choose really between playing the partitas or saying which instrument, which of those two volumes fits the clavichord absolutely the 100%, then it's really the partitas. The partitas, to my mind, are really tailor-made for the clavichord. There's even not a single doubt in my mind that they were. And again, as I've been pointing out in some other videos recently, where I really share some of my deepest beliefs about my take on performance practice, I'm not here to tell you what you should do. I'm not here to tell you that the harpsichord is a lesser instrument than the clavichord. It's none of my business even what you would think. And really, I only hope to inspire you, to give you some thoughts. But basically, I'm sharing what I experience as a player. The level of dynamics that you, in my opinion, need for the partitas, accentuation, dynamic changes between left, right hand, voices. It's compared to general the Well-Tempered Klavier, but because there is some level of differentiation, excuse me, in those bundles as well. But in the partitas, it's really a constant fact that you are facing a kind of, I wouldn't say a gallant music, but it's going to that style. It's not old-fashioned 1726 first, 1731 the last. It begs for dynamic differentiations, for expressiveness in a way that the harpsichord, in my mind, cannot deliver. It's a more static instrument. I'm not saying that you cannot play beautiful and expressively on a harpsichord, but you lack those typical things that you on a good clavichord can do, which is a dynamic differentiation. So that's for me out of question. Having said that, I also believe that the Well-Tempered Klavier is clavichord music. So again, not saying that you cannot play it on harpsichord, but I believe within the context of the time that the clavichord had a position and that the harpsichord not had in Germany or in the German areas. As we have seen with C.P.E. Bach in pieces, that C.P.E. Bach is very clear about that. In general, he said you use the harpsichord for orchestral use and you use this clavichord for solo music. And I believe that, again, from my personal experiences, and I'm going to experiment with harpsichord soon. We're going to make a few of really nice videos, I think, putting myself to a real test, according to C.P.E. Bach, but that's for another video. That if you would have to choose between two types of instrument, where the one is the majestic one, without doubt, that's the harpsichord with the grand sonority, with a long tone. It's kind of brilliance that the clavichord doesn't have. But what the clavichord has is this expressive need, this detailed, the capability of building structure within the piece, giving accents, giving like a flute traverse player would do, like a violin player would do. I would wonder why you would want to miss that. Why you would like to, but what Leonard once said, I believe, is to imitate that. Leonard said a harpsichord is a way more difficult instrument to play than a clavichord. What he did mean was you lack so much expressive tools that the clavichord just gives to you. And of course, then you have to work with timing and with the kind of arpeggio way of playing, which you can do on a clavichord as well. But why would you like to miss that? I think sometimes. So it's just from my standpoint. I'm really honest here now, and I put myself in a very vulnerable position, because if you are a harpsichord player, perhaps your blood pressure is going up now already. But again, that's not it's what I feel. I know mind-blowing performances on harpsichord. So that's not what I want to say. It's just the clavichord adds to that something that seems to fit so well for certainly the partitas and certainly for many of the Well-Tempered Klavier pieces. A fugue like the C-sharp minor, the first book, I can imagine being played on harpsichord really well, because it's like an organ piece almost. But on the other hand, if you go to, for instance, the E-flat minor, the first book, there is this kind of intimacy that you maybe would not want to miss on a clavichord. Even for the first prelude, there are so many elements that you can say, well, here is a clavichord giving something that on another instrument is more difficult. So that's all very personal. Don't take it personal. It's just how I feel that. And also a kind of explanation as an answer actually on many questions I got in the course of the years. When comes the moment that I'm going to play the harpsichord for the music of Bach and the music that I'm playing? And that probably will never be, because I will experiment with harpsichord again soon in some videos to test me out. Related to the C.P.E. Bach in pieces videos, or something that Bach is writing about. That's for another video. But that's something very personal. And for me, the harpsichord and the clavichord are two different types of instruments. You cannot say that they share a lot in common. The harpsichord is again, I've described the sound. It's large, it's long sound. It's a clavichord. Of course, has a much shorter sound. It's much less sound. It's a diversity in dynamics that the harpsichord doesn't have. So, if you consider Bach to be an excellent musician and composer that we all agree upon, then the question is, did he wrote abstract music that is just as a composition stands out, or was he a practical musician that wrote music to be played mostly by himself and by his students and by his inner circles, because it was not that music, even not the partitas, were not concert pieces. Who could play them, by the way, in that time? So then you must assume that he was thinking on an instrument while writing. And I see the consistency in the partitas much more than in the Well-Tempered Klavier, which of course makes sense that the Well-Tempered Klavier is not grown as one composition. The partitas are. And saying that he kind of wrote it for the generic meaning of the keyboard in general, so being all types of instruments, that would mean that he was indeed again making abstract music, which I don't believe. If he wrote for a specific keyboard instrument in his practice as a musician, then the clavichord and the harpsichord are difficult to unify because it are different instruments. I believe that the clavichord has more in common with the flute traverse than with the harpsichord. And that might be a very bold statement. Again, that's my inner belief. And I'm not saying, again, I cannot repeat it enough, that you cannot play it very expressively on a harpsichord, but it's just a question, theoretically, important to open our minds for which type of instrument that Bach composes keyboard music. And I believe there is a differentiation, and there is a difference that we can make still. Anyway, that's a very long answer on a very simple question, but it's not simple. It ties into so many aspects of research and also kind of sensitive points, because we are all attached to the instrument that we play for a long time. So that were just some thoughts about this. Again, don't take it personal if you are a dedicated harpsichord player and you say, Wim, you are just messing it up. That those partitas are for harpsichord, then go for it and invite me to your concert. That's our third phase. There we shake hands, and I hope to be inspired if I hear your performance on the harpsichord. So it shouldn't prevent us from expressing our things that we come up with in phase 1 and phase 2 of that so-called 3-phase research thing that I talked about so in depth in another video. But here you had my really close to my mind, close to my heart, close to my feeling thoughts about instrument choice in Bach's music. And there you have it. So, hope you liked the video. If this is your first time again, I'd love to have you join the Authentic Sound community by hitting the subscribe button, maybe even the bell icon, so you get notifications from YouTube for new videos, and we see each other then very soon again. And now I'm going to play some plays with the girls. Thanks for watching and sharing this video, and see you next time. Bye.